Listen up, you guppies! The enemy is evolving and invading our lands. The time to strike is now! We need you to deploy our elite force of mosquito fish and neutralize the enemy. Mosquitoes will breed in many backyard standing water bodies such as green swimming pools, ponds, and fountains. Mosquito fish are a natural method of control and will stop the enemy before they evolve into fully fledged fighting machines. This will reduce the mosquito population and promote safer communities for all of Hillsborough County residents. Report to hcfl.gov/mosquitoes for more information on how you can prevent mosquitoes. Good luck, guppies. Make me proud.
afternoon and welcome to the August 24th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners Budget Workshop. I'll hand things over this time to County Administrator Bonnie Wise for some opening remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today is the second of 3 budget workshops, and this is prior to the delivery of the fiscal year 25 budget that we'll be presenting on July 17th. And this workshop today, we're going to discuss solid waste assessments, and we're going to then later have other assessments for your consideration in August. So that will be the timetable. Today is information only, no votes to be taken, just information. We'd like to take this opportunity today to talk about the services of the department, the trends that we're seeing in the industry and at our own facilities, and the improvements to the facilities are going to be required over the next several years. So we don't want to only talk about this coming year, but future years as well. And we want the board and public to know that our system is quite complex, as you'll see, and a lot of thoughtfulness and planning is required with such a complex system. As you're aware, we've had some recent new agreements for waste collection and also for recycling, and that impacts the rates that we ultimately charge to our customers. We have an expiring power purchase agreement that's going to result in the loss of some revenue, and we have some capital investments that are necessitated by safety improvements and regulatory requirements that are going to be needed for our system. And all these factors are going to impact the rates that we're going to need to charge over the next several years. The presentation is also going to describe some revenue opportunities that we have and some cost-saving opportunities that we're researching and how that will impact the assessments going forward. We also need to talk about impacts that we're making to our landfill and how we could extend the life of our existing landfill. We also have a budget workshop planned for May 8th. Preliminarily, we had discussing the status of the Indigent Healthcare Fund. We've also heard you discuss the need to further talk about public safety. So we can have the fire chief come back and talk about the initiatives that he had previously proposed to you and what is the status of those and future improvements to fire. And also, I thought I heard some discussion about having the sheriff come and talk about his budget as well. So we have those preliminary scheduled for May 8th, unless you tell us otherwise that you'd like to have something differently. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Damian Trammell, who is the Director of Solid Waste, and then George Cassidy, Assistant County Administrator, will take over after Damian. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Damian Trammell, Director of Solid Waste Management Department. Today, we'll be giving a brief overview of the solid waste system. As Bonnie said, the FY25 proposed assessment and the proposed 5-year rate plan. Commissioners, we'll start off by going over the vision and mission for the department. Our vision is to have a long-term, sustainable, and financially responsible integrated solid waste system. We will ensure capacity is available for our current and future residents. We'll be creative in our thinking when developing cost reduction projects, and we will seek to improve our collection and disposal system. And above all, public health and safety will remain top priorities. We provide services to over 320,000 single-family homes in the unincorporated Hillsborough County. Our robust system consists of 2 garbage pickups, 1 yard waste pickup, 1 recycling pickup per week. 3 contracted haulers provide the collection services: Republic Services of Florida, Waste Management of Tampa, and FCC Environmental Services. The garbage and yard waste is collected and delivered to a county disposal facility. And the recyclables are taken to Waste Connections to be processed. We have 190 employees employed to support our system and our customers. We have 1 landfill, 1 waste energy plant, also known as resource recovery facility, 2 transfer stations, 5 community collection centers, and 2 yard waste sites, 2 donation sites, and 3 household hazardous locations as well. We generate approximately 1.2 million tons of solid waste annually. 44% is being disposed of at our resource recovery facility. which is operating at design capacity. 41% is disposed of at our landfill, and we're recycling about 15%. Hillsborough County property owners are automatically assessed for solid waste services annually each November on their residential property tax bill. There are two separate non-ad valorem assessments: a solid waste collection fee for residential curbside collection services, and a solid waste disposal fee that pays for the operation of the county disposal system. In 2013, the county embarked on a new collection agreement for 7 years, transitioning to automated curbside service. This service, requiring only one employee per truck, proved to be more efficient than manual collection, which typically requires 2 or more employees per vehicle. The collection contract was set to expire in 2020, so we took a proactive step by issuing an RFP for collection services in advance. However, the bids that came back were higher than what was anticipated. And this was partly due to the level of services outlined in the scope. And as a result, the RFP was canceled, and we extended the existing contract to allow more time to re-advertise the RFP to see if we made some changes, would we receive a lower rate? And we were successful. And in 2022, we signed a new collection agreement with FCC, Waste Management, and Republic Services of Florida. From 2013 to 2020, we kept rates relatively flat. This was possible because the solid waste industry experienced relatively low inflation before 2018. And the county implemented automated service in 2013, resulting in some operating savings as well. However, from 2018 to 2020, the county encountered significant cost increases. These were primarily due to inflation, increased wage pressures for CDL drivers, supply chain issues, and increased maintenance costs, all of which had a direct impact on the solid waste operations. In 2020, the county developed a 3-year rate plan to increase the rates in 21, 22, and in 23. However, in 23, we took advantage of a one-time benefit by unrestricting certain reserves that we used to hold the assessment flat. And in 24, we raised rates to fully recover the collection cost increases. The FY25 proposed assessment includes a rate increase to support our residential curbside agreement. In October, the board approved extending our recycling contract with Waste Connections for 3 years. The FY25 proposed assessment includes a one-time increase that will fund our recycling contract with Waste Connections. It is important to note that recycling diverts waste from our landfill, saving valuable landfill space and extending the life of this critical asset. Recycling creates jobs for the collection, processing, and manufacturing sector. Our residents value recycling. Approximately 70% of all households participate weekly in our recycling program. Our resource recovery facility incinerates garbage and produces electricity that we use to sell to Seminole Electric. On average, in the last 4 years, we have received $17 million in revenue from selling our electricity to Seminole. Our power purchase agreement with Seminole expires in February of 2025. Following our recent discussions with Seminole and other utilities, we learned that if we signed a new purchase agreement, it would be at a reduced rate. An energy consultant confirmed that the power market in Florida is projected to have an excess capacity of about 20 to 30% for the foreseeable future based on the 2024 10-year site plan that has been published. This means that electric utility companies will only accept external capacity if the pricing is below the average generated fuel price. The FY25 assessment includes an increase to offset our loss in electrical revenue. Commissioner, we have identified 3 CIP projects that were included in the CIP budget and adopted by the board under the FY23 5-year CIP plan. The total cost of the 3 projects is approximately $100 million. These projects would be funded through a bond. The projects are Resource Recovery Facility Improvement, Landfill Expansion, and Northwest Transfer Station Facility Improvement. I will start with resource. 40 years ago, Commissioners, the board directed the Solid Waste Management Department to build a resource recovery facility. The primary driver for this facility was to minimize waste delivered to our landfill, with the side benefit of electricity generation. We generate approximately 40 megawatts an hour, and we sell it through a power purchase agreement to and with Seminole Electric. Republic Resource Recovery Facility has been operating at design capacity for nearly 10 years. This means that most of the remaining solid waste that cannot be processed through our resource recovery facility is being landfilled, and our landfill is filling up quickly. If we do not reinvest in our resource recovery facility, we will likely encounter significant challenges in the future. The resource recovery facility currently diverts approximately 500,000 tons of solid waste from our landfill each year, which is extremely crucial to preserving our landfill. If resource recovery facility were to cease operation for an extended period, all solid waste would be directed to the landfill, drastically reducing the life of the landfill. If our landfill reaches the end of useful life, we will have to transport our waste out of the county to another landfill. Today, the cost to the county to dispose of solid waste at our landfill is around $35 per ton. The cost of transporting waste out of the county will likely be 2 to 3 times as much. This not only will only increase the operational costs, but it will pose a logistical challenge considering the volume of waste we generate. We will also lose, Commissioner, the ability to control costs. We will essentially be at the mercy of a private landfill. The importance of maintaining our resource recovery facility to divert waste from the landfill can't be overstated enough. The resource recovery facility is a crucial component to our waste diversion strategy, and without it, we will face significant financial challenges. We are recommending $15 million for the resource recovery facility improvement as part of the total capital project for FY25. Our landfill is a finite asset divided into 12 sections. The section currently in use is projected to fill up in 5 years. To dispose of solid waste at the landfill beyond 2030, we need to move the operation to a new section, Section 10. The FY25 CIP project will fund a portion of the cost to expand our landfill to Section 10 to accommodate for the additional county growth. Additional costs to complete the construction of Section 10 has also been identified, but have been deferred to FY26, FY28, and FY29. Again, this is to dispose of waste at the landfill beyond 2030. We cannot afford any delays, Commissioner, in moving our landfill operation to Section 10. We are one major storm away from having to transport waste out of the system, which will increase our overall costs. This CIP project starts the process of us ensuring that we will be able to dispose of solid waste at our landfill by and beyond 2030. Northwest Transfer Station. Northwest Transfer Station facility was commissioned in 1983. It is over 40 years old and needs significant improvements in capital reinvestment. We are looking to rebuild Northwest Transfer Station to modernize the operation and improve the efficiency. In addition, the site serves as a customer collection center, and improvements are needed to ensure access and improve safety. Commissioner, the solid waste assessment is split into 2 separate fees. Collection, which is limited to our hauling agreement for residential curbside service, and disposal, which is associated with our disposal system. The proposed annual increase to the assessment is $40.38, of which $12.82 is related to our residential collection contract. Each collection contract has an annual consumer price index rate adjustment clause. $10.54 is a one-time increase that will support our Waste Connections recycling contract. $8.67 is related to the loss of electrical revenue from our power purchase agreement, which expires in 2025, and $8.36 is related to the debt service costs of our capital improvement projects to sustain and improve our disposal system. The proposed increase is $40.39 annually, or $3.37 monthly. That concludes my portion of the presentation. Mr. Cassidy will speak next.
Thanks, Damian. Good afternoon, George.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. George Cassidy, Public Utilities. And my portion of this is to basically go over some of the drivers that we have in our program. And so, Damian did a really nice job of covering some of the main elements of the solid waste management program. The resource recovery facility is our crown jewel for processing trash and diverting what would otherwise go to the landfill. He's covered our transfer station, which is a major component of getting trash collected and then transferred from one location to another location. And then certainly our landfill, which is super important to us. I want to go back in time a little bit and share with you some of the drivers on why we even have a resource recovery facility. And it starts prior to 1980. And if anyone is interested in the Taylor Road landfill story, that was an open borrow pit that existed for years, and it became a trash landfill. And so it was filled up. And at that point in time, there weren't a lot of regulations about what you could put in a landfill. And so we put stuff in there that really shouldn't have gone in, and we resulted in some serious and significant environmental degradation. We had groundwater concerns, and ultimately that site was declared a Superfund site. That was around 1980. So it wasn't soon after that the board made a conscious decision to not have another landfill like that. And what were your options? What could we do? We decided we were going to incinerate trash. So we envisioned a resource recovery facility so that we could incinerate all that came through, and we would minimize what went to a landfill. So we did that. We commissioned resource recovery in about 1986, and for the first 25, 30 years of operation, really limited amount of overflow went to the landfill. That changed in 2015. 2015, the growth of the county had reached a point where we were burning all that we could burn at resource recovery, and then the overflow was going to the landfill. And right now, as Damian showed you in his chart on the 1.2 million tons of trash, roughly half is incinerated at the resource recovery, the other half goes to the landfill. Every year, we're diverting more and more and more to that landfill. Why is that impactful? Well, number one, from our management of solid waste choice of minimizing that, it causes us a little anxiety and a little stress because we're filling up something that we weren't supposed to fill up this soon. And as we continue to go forward, it's just going to be more and more. We are turning over every rock, every opportunity to find out if there's a better way to process trash and minimize what goes to the landfill. Quite frankly, there's some new technology that's out there. We're going to be exploring that over the next couple of months and the next couple of years. But all told, between resource recovery, between our landfill, and between our recycling challenges, we have got a pretty significant lift in the cost of our operations over the next couple of years. So Damian shared with you that our forecast for fiscal year 25, basically our proposed rate increase, is 9.2%. It's $40.38 per year annually. That's added to the current assessment amount. I want to point out that it is divided between collection and disposal, but collection is the lion's share of the cost of the assessment. And why is that? It's because the cost of moving this commodity all over this county, and we've got 1,000 square miles-ish. We collect trash at the farthest corners of this county, and there's nothing more expensive than putting it in a big truck and driving it around. So that collection aspect and element of our work is very expensive, very time-consuming, very expensive. On the disposal side, that covers everything else. That's your recycling program, that's your resource recovery program, that's your landfill program, your transfer stations. So all that input is important, but it's not as much as the collection element of our collection or our management program. So we've got a 9.2% figured out for this coming year. Now, we will be bringing this back to you later in the summer for consideration, but most importantly, because we kept rates flat for so many years, we didn't have a real story to tell over the last 10 years. Now we got a story to tell. There's a lot of significant improvement that need to be made, and so we wanted to give you a peek behind the curtain of what's going to happen over the next 4 years after this one. So our rate plan does show a forecasted 9% in 26, and then drops a little bit in 27 to 6%, a little bit more to 5 and to 4% respectively in the coming years. This is to keep the existing system healthy. This is to keep the existing system operating the way it should. It doesn't necessarily build capacity at the resource recovery facility. It just keeps what we have operating and moving in a forward direction. We really feel it's very important for us to be exploring alternative ways to handle trash moving forward. If we stick with the plan that we've had, we're going to be coming to you with a rebuild of the resource recovery facility that minimally would be about $200 to $300 million. Whether we bond it or we pay cash, it's going to be a heavy lift. If we were to decide later on that we want to completely eliminate what goes to the landfill, a new, brand new, equivalent size resource recovery built somewhere else in the county is a staggering $1.5 billion estimated right now. I don't know how we would go about paying for that. That would be an ugly number. But that's the reality, right? 40 years ago, we decided we were going to burn it all, and it was a heavy cost then. We're not burning it all now. We've got a lot of excess. If we were going to stick with the old plan, we need to build a new one sometime down the road, but we want to look for alternatives. I've got the slide up right now that shows our rate comparison with us and other municipalities. We always want to provide this overview for you to see, let you see where we are compared to some of the other municipalities. And our current rate structure is about in the middle. We're not necessarily the lowest, and we're certainly not the highest. With this proposed rate increase, it bumps us up a little bit. An important element of this chart is to tell you that timing is everything, and we were the most recent municipality in this grouping of municipalities to have a new contract let a couple of years ago. All of these other ones are going to be experiencing the same thing that we did a couple of years ago, which is to let new contracts, and they're going to be bearing market value at that time. Very likely everybody comes up to where we are, if not go beyond us. Future opportunities. I did mention a little bit about the opportunities that we're going to be exploring, looking at how we can kind of reinvent ourselves when it comes to working with solid waste and the trash business. One of the things that Damien is exploring, and he's going after it really hard, is we have landfill gas that currently is mostly being flared off. So Damien's got a program right now where he's going to be looking at capturing that gas, cleaning it up to natural gas quality, and putting it back into the line. Much in the same as we make electricity and sell it on the grid, he'll be able to take that natural gas, sell it onto the pipeline grid system, and generate a little revenue. He's forecasting, as much as $2 million, maybe as little as $500,000, depending on the quality of the natural gas and what it can be cleaned up to. But again, that's a great opportunity for us to leverage some additional revenue. Advanced metal recovery. Everything that gets burned at the resource recovery facility, not all that metal is pulled out immediately. Some of it gets mixed up in the ash. That gets taken to the landfill where it's disposed of. Well, we know metals have a potential value to them. So this advanced metal recovery system is going to harvest as much of that metal as possible. Again, that's a revenue stream for us. We get more of it, and certainly precious metals. We can sell that at a higher rate and be able to enjoy a little bit of additional revenue. And then the mixed waste processing facility, this is something new to us. So this is taking trash and doing something differently with it. This is taking trash and producing potentially fuel stocks. This is taking trash and maybe taking it to a whole new level of resource recovery in terms of getting the usable materials out of it, not just taking it to the landfill, not just burning it. Some of these projects are going to have cost engagement, right? So it's like we got to try some of these things out. It's going to cost us a little bit. We have skin in the game to try some of these alternative processing operations to see if they're really going to work for us. We think it's important that we start diving into this to avoid what could potentially be down the road a really significant capital expenditure. So where are we going from here? So this is our workshop today. We're sharing this information with you, and we're certainly going to have some questions and answers, I suppose. After this, we're going to come back to you in May of next May, or this May, and we're going to request a public hearing be set in August. In June, because we have an obligation to notice our residents and our customers, we'll start the noticing of the public hearing in June. That takes about 45 days. And then in August, we will have our public hearing for you to consider the proposed rates for solid waste department. And with that, I'm finished with my presentation and be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, George. Appreciate your comments. I appreciate your positive demeanor in light of the future rate increase requests that are coming. Commissioner Wilstel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said that we're going to experience loss of electrical revenue. Which site is that from?
That's the resource recovery facility. So the resource recovery facility generates about 40 megawatts of electricity each day from the trash that it burns, and we put that on the grid. And we sell that at a going rate of about 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour.
And you were saying that it's still worthwhile, though, to keep the resource recovery facility, even though we're losing the revenue, because it would create a burden on the landfill?
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting problem to consider, right? Do we continue to reinvest in that to divert waste from the landfill? The side benefit of the incineration of trash is that we're making electricity. That's a side benefit. The objective isn't to make electricity, it's just a side benefit.
Okay. And these monthly rates, I mean, while we're saying assessments and future rate increases, the monthly rate is averaged out about $3 a month for the next 4 years is what you're asking for.
That's correct. That's
I
correct.
just want everyone in the public to hear that before somebody says rate increase, $3 a month. The other thing that I would throw out to everybody is that I do believe that it's $100 million and that all of these 3 projects would be eligible to be subsidized under any potential renewal of the CIT. And that would prevent us from having to increase the fees over the next 4 years. Is that right?
Yes. CIT could be used for capital improvements to this facility.
So just throwing it out there, we're going to get somewhere, if it was renewed at the 15 years under current rates, somewhere slightly lower than $3 billion, and this would be $100 million of it as a potential to avoid any increases on our constituency. So that's all I've got for now. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both. I know this has been a heavy lift, and I appreciate all the work you've done with me on this as well. And I don't think it'd be understated what you said, George, about the fact where we find ourselves in a contract position standpoint compared to the surrounding counties. I mean, you alluded to it, but each surrounding county member is going to be in the same boat that we're in with these contracts, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And I get, we talk about, I'm talking about myself, you talk about roads, public safety, infrastructure, and water, because that's the things that the folks in my district are constantly pounding me with, right? But we don't really talk too much about the solid waste because it's not something necessary that our constituents really feel. They put their trash out and it goes to that magical land and disappears, right? So I'd like to get your input too on, obviously, I'm not trying to, you can say it to me, okay? I think my district is part of the big problem here, right? Because that's where future growth and infrastructure and all that is really lacking behind. But as we continue to develop South County and East County, this is going to propose more significant challenges, correct? Is that anticipated in what we've done here today as we possibly expand urban service areas and as we continue to build some of these communities that are already approved? Is that kind of calculated and taken into consideration here on when you're talking about these hikes?
So you're most of the problem, but not all of the problem, if that is comforting. So when we look at when we look at where the needs are, when we look at how we're going to best manage those needs, certainly proximity to where the trash is generated is most important. So when we start looking at some improvements to our facilities, we're going to be really looking at South County. You know, we looked at alternative processing facilities. You know, what goes from the Northwest to Resource, if all of Northwest trash can be processed at Resource, then it doesn't have to drive down to South County. If South County can be processed in South County, then that keeps that transportation cost and that handling cost at a low point. So when we're looking at alternative methods and we're evaluating what we do, we want to put the solutions in the area of the problem.
So that's part of the big issue that we have outside of the urban core is just like you alluded to, distance on moving waste is a big thing. And as we continue to develop, say, for example, Waimama and the Ruskin areas, those are places where you've got to travel to move waste compared to necessarily the urban core. So a lot of those costs are really built in there because we don't have the facilities, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Well, good work on this. I appreciate all your work on this, and that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Kemp.
Thanks. I have just a couple questions, and one about the waste, the electric waste energy, the electric recovery, which we've talked about before, but, and I guess Seminole is reducing their contract to half or something of what they're, how's that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Commissioner, our power purchase agreement expires in 2025 in February. We anticipate that based on our discussions with Seminole and other utilities that we will receive a reduced rate.
And can we negotiate that with anybody else? Or I've asked about this for a long time, about powering, the jail that we have nearby or county facilities nearby.
Right.
And would that be, because I imagine we're spending far more than that per kilowatt hour there, and is that possible?
Commissioner, we looked into that option as well. In fact, we had some communications with them several months back, and they decided not to move forward with the negotiation with the county. They went with TECO instead of the county.
The jails did?
Yes, they did, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, that's unfortunate since that's surprising since it would save us all money, I would think. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure to ask about that since we also fund the jails and provide, so that's disappointing. Is there any other options besides the jails in terms of,
yes.
and what would that be?
Commissioner Kim, we are looking at other utilities like Duke. We're also looking at TECO as well. Maybe we can foster a deal with TECO. And the other option is maybe brokering the electricity as well. So there's some options that we are considering. We don't know what we don't know exactly what the rate would be, but we do anticipate that it's going to be lower than what we currently have today.
Mm-hmm. Huh. And the other that I was going to ask about, so there's the recycling, it's just a one-time fee?
That's correct, Commissioner.
And it looks like it's spread over 2 years, maybe because of fiscal years or payment years or something?
No, I'm sorry, let me go back.
Maybe it was just me looking at it.
Yeah.
And
That's it's a one-time increase in FY '25.
Mm-hmm. I just thought I saw part, maybe I missaw.
No, yes.
So, and then in the future, that is no longer going to be charged anymore. So that will be, it goes up for 1 year and then it will reduce?
It
stays flat because you're, okay.
Yeah.
Amortizing or whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just wanted to understand and know. I just don't even see, it would make no sense in this day and age to, expand our landfills. That is virtually something that everyone is trying to move away from. I wish we could move into more recycling and more waste reduction.
Right.
But is there, I know that this one program you have that you're looking at the newer, some newer innovative things, but in the waste reduction, mixed waste processing facility, is there anything in the waste reduction horizon that we can think about here?
You know, Commissioner, that's a great question, and the answer to that is yes, it is. There are many different opportunities out there to reduce waste. There's like several different mixed waste processing ideas out there. We are exploring all the ideas. I'm gonna say all, but we're doing as many as we can that we believe it's gonna be a viable option for the county. We have a few on the horizon right now. We have some meetings set up as early as this week. And so we're actively exploring these options, and we believe the goal is to hit on one. We just need one, but we are actively exploring those options.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, good afternoon to both. Just want to follow up from my Monday briefing when I asked staff, is there other opportunities where we're going to have the CIT tax and the school board tax? Have y'all looked at other ways that we would not have to have a tax this year on the solid waste?
The answer to that, Commissioner, is yes, we have. We've been meeting with our rate advisors and our rate consultants for the past couple of days, really looked hard at what can we do to defer costs. And here's what we do know. The FY25 proposed assessment increase would generate about $19 million a year. And of that, $13 million is associated with our residential assessment. $6 million is from the tipping fees, commercial and municipal waste that we receive on a day-to-day basis. Approximately 80% of the increase is related to our residential assessment, and it covers our operating costs and our loss of electrical revenue. The remaining cost increases will fund the capital needs of our system. The question is, can we defer? If we do not raise rates, Commissioner Ratellis, who is here today, our rate consultant, estimates that the county may not meet compliance with the provisions of our bond covenant, which would impact the county credit rating as it relates to our solid waste enterprise fund. Also, delaying the issuance of debt wouldn't allow us to move forward with some of our capital projects that we believe is in dire need for us to move forward with. Another option, another impact is, Commissioner, is this, that if we defer it, well then FY26 is going to be a lot higher. So looking at all options, we truly believe that the recommended option that's before you, and that is the 9.2% increase, is what we should move forward with.
Bonnie?
Yes, maybe you could put up slide 12 real quickly, because you all are asking the right question if we could use other revenues for the capital portion. And the answer, as I mentioned already, is yes for the capital portion, but a lot of what's driving this rate increase isn't the capital improvements. It's these contractual agreements, as Commissioner Owen, you mentioned, that are already there. So if you look at the fiscal year 25, and on the disposal side, it's the new recycling agreement, it's the loss of the electric revenue, and then on the collection side, it's the CPI increase. It's the capital projects piece, the $8. That's the part that could possibly be impacted, but it would require that $100 million or so of subsidy from some other source.
Okay, here's the poker question. You know, back in the day when I was a former county employee, we would always find money. So Tom, are you willing to find us some money somewhere hidden in the budget to make it happen?
So, you know, the one year that we did, pull the rabbit out of the hat, and we shared that with you, that it was a one-time accounting change on the way we did the assessments. We pulled that rabbit out of the hat. We have now delayed these capital improvements, and some of these are true safety concerns. So I will tell you that when staff first brought this to me, I think the increase was about 12%. And I was like, no, we got to at least get it down and spread it out. So this is our recommendation to you, whether we could spread out, some of those landfill expansion in fiscal year 26, spread that out over multiple years. Those are the kinds of things we would look at, but it's not going to, materially change in our professional assessment on the condition of the existing system.
Plus, and just want the public to know we're looking at every thought and being considered for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you very much. I just wanted to reiterate and remember a couple things here. First of all, from 2013 to 2020, there was no rate increase at all for a very, very long time. And, I've heard some of the newer commissioners rightly lament that other boards didn't tackle some of the challenges. I will tell you, when Commissioner Myers and I got here, from the minute we got here, we had to start raising rates the first year. And it's been steep like this throughout. The other thing I just wanted to remind everybody is that at the end of the last contract, we were having difficulty getting people to work. And this is very, very hard work. This is the work that is out in the sun, cleaning up the solid waste from the entire county. And a lot of this is driven by labor costs. And it's my sense from what we heard today that there are other jurisdictions that we'll be competing with in terms of what the pay is. So as others contemplate whether or not their bills are going to rise, it's all tied to the same thing. And if we fall behind on what we're paying, we will lose our people to the areas around us.
Commissioner Kemp.
And I'll just quickly agree there that we did have a big problem for many of the years, and Commissioner Hagan knows this too, with issues with, it wasn't just an easy thing that everybody forgot at all. I will let you know, because we had a lot of issues coming forward with that. And I was really pleased with this new contract that worked out, that complaints, instead of going to the companies, came to us, that you all set up a system for that so we could actually track. And I mean, since then, it's been crickets. I mean, as far as I know, like on our phones and here and anywhere, it's been a real relief. The second thing is, in terms of the drivers, what happened too was, Amazon started delivering. Uber, Lyft, even Hart had real difficulties because when people could get those kinds of jobs and they could get paid and preferred that over solid waste or the other kinds of jobs that were out there, it became a far more competitive market for drivers, and it was also during COVID that all that hit. But the market for drivers, from what I heard from all the solid waste companies at the time, was just a really difficult labor market, and probably will remain tight for years to come, I imagine. So that is a real consideration.
And I'll just say before I go to Commissioner Owen that Commissioner Kemp is correct. In many years past, there were significant service deficiencies and issues, and I will say with the current contract, they have been dramatically reduced. That's for certain, at least in District 2. Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'll be real fast. And I remember when we were here last year, George, you called it, it was called creative financial maneuvering. And that word kind of stuck with me. And I can tell you from talking to staff, we have, just to kind of reiterate what Commissioner Myers was for the public purposes, I don't want to speak for every commissioner, but I think I can, that we would love for you to exhaust every remedy you can not to raise rates. But you told us this last year, and I guess for purposes of the public, if you could just reiterate, we have exhausted every remedy and measure that we have, correct?
Yes, sir. We're diving into the couch cushions now. We're looking for spare change. Anything that we can do to really, offset any increase that we may be looking at. And so, also with that creative financing, we leveraged our rate stabilization fund as far as we could leverage it. It's at the bottom right now. We can't take any more out of that. So we've exhausted maybe what would be hidden money or traditional places to find some money. No, now we're looking at alternative processing. That's our future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Damien, this is not about your item, so thank you very much. You did a good job. This is more, Mr. Chair, we're at a budget workshop. We're at the second of 3 budget workshops. Commissioner Spade, I know, and I'm sure you freshly remember last year, we were all particularly and equally frustrated that we kept asking questions about the budget. We come to these shops, we don't really chat. We can't chat behind the scenes because of sunshine law, and we're just kind of zooming through, and here we are almost to May now. And I can tell you that right now I've been watching. We have specific board policies that direct the county budget officer to implement certain budgetary controls. I can tell you that those policies are not currently being met, and it's very frustrating that now we're going to zoom in to the third one. We're not talking about how we're going to find amendments in the budget to fund all of the roads and infrastructure that we promised to everybody, and we just seem to lack that open dialogue, and we're being told that there's no voting, but there's no conversation, and here we are about to adjourn, and I just think that at some point we're going to have to make some serious changes on how we get to where we promised everybody. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, any other questions, comments, board members? Bonnie, anything else?
No, thank you. Any other feedback? So stick with the May 8th as I described it, public safety and indigent healthcare. Okay.
Workshop.
And if I may, have we decided if we're going to have the public safety component where we have I know you alluded to it, where the sheriff and fire chief or whoever they designate?
That's who we've proposed to invite.
Proposed to invite. Gotcha. Thank you.
And we've spoken to both of them.
Very good.
Okay, we're adjourned.